friends, Steve from Bayfield Lights. This is my layout for 2021, just under 8,000 lights. I'm going to give you a behind the scenes tour today. This video is going to focus on the mega tree. As you can see, it's being partially taken down. Once I got started, I figured, you know what, let's make a behind the scenes video of some aspects of my show, what I enjoyed, and some things I need to improve on. So this hopefully can help you help someone else in the future. So my mega tree this year is 24 by 75. 24 strands, 75 lights each. How I have each strand made up, you see right here, is 3 sets of 50. I have 50 going up, then I start the second set of 50, and that goes from pixel 1 to 25. And then between pixel 25 and 26, I jump over to the second strand or second strip for my tree. And then I drop or finish 26 through 50, and then add the third set of lights, 50 on down to the end. This makes one connection of 75 per port for a total of 12 ports used in my controller, which I'll explain in a moment. As you can see, don't mess with Mother Nature. Now, for the most part, this held up pretty well for the year. Now, my tree is constructed height-wise is 17 feet of piping. I used 1¼ inch galvanized steel threaded pipe, a 3-foot section on the bottom, followed by a 10-foot section on top, and then my topper, and then on top of the topper, a 3/4 inch black iron pipe to hold the star. Now, I got the idea from Michael Strofigan of Showstopper Sequences to put the 3-foot on the bottom, then the 10-foot on top of it, simply because you can keep an eye on the weakest point. They say the weakest point of the line is a connection, which is right there. So then I also put the ring, it's hard to tell in the video, but the guy wire ring that I have, the tension that's being put on it is being absorbed over 10 feet of pipe versus 3. And overall for the season held up really well. It's on there. It's not moving at all, which is really nice. As far as the guide wires, instead of using the galvanized wiring, I used, also an idea from Michael, was ratchet straps. Now, I needed more, and so I ended up using the black 1 inch and then finishing it off with the red 1 inch. I have more ordered, or more here, that I'll use next year. My angle for the guide wire is a little bit overkill. I tried to do a full 90 going out. It's a little much, so next year I'll bring it in probably at least 4 feet, and I think it'll hold up just fine. But the build for the tree itself, I used a 3-foot piece of 4x6, treated 4x6, drilled 2 holes in the side near the ends of it, rammed some 1/2 inch rebar through it. Now, I live in North Carolina, so the ground that I'm in here is all sand, so it's pretty easy to drive things into the ground. So I drove half the 4-foot rebar into the ground just to give me a little bit more stability. And then I put, for the pole, put the coupling, but the flange on the bottom, and then went up 3 feet, 10 feet, guide wire ring, another flange, then my topper from Overkill Metals. It's a great topper, very well constructed. He's no longer in business, but it's overall a very nice topper. And then on top of that, you got the black pipe, which is not suggested to use as the main mast of the tree, but the black pipe is fine for the star that stands 4 feet up. The star is a 3-foot, I believe it's 190 pixels from Boscoyo. And I'll make sure I put in the description all the parts and accessories for this tree, so it's easy for you to find. So after I took the pole down from the mega tree, I wanted to lay it down flat and give you a little bit more up-close view of the components of the mast itself, just so you get an idea of what you need to purchase and where and how you can put everything together. So it starts at the bottom with 1¼ inch flange. That's what tied into the 4x6. And then on top of that was the 1¼ inch by 3 feet long, 36 inch long piece of galvanized steel, threaded piping. Then a coupling to connect the 10-foot piece. And like I said, I could put 3 foot on the bottom with a 10 foot on top, one, so I can keep an eye on that connection point throughout the season, but then also so I could make sure that I disperse the tension that's being pulled on the guy wire ring here down 10 feet versus 3 feet. So then you go up 10 feet, and then you have the guy wire ring, which I purchased off the Amazon, and it's a three guy wire ring system, so it allows you to do 3. We could do 4 if I spread it out correctly, but I chose to just do 3 because of my property. Then at the end of the 10-foot piece, I got another flange, and then that's sandwiched in between, or actually 2 flanges, and in between it sandwiches the topper, which is the Overkill topper. As you can see, it has the slots versus the JBoards. Like I've said before, it's a very well made piece. The one thing I will do in the off season is paint it, because you can tell here it got a lot of rust on it. Now I'll have to do some scraping of it and make sure I get it all cleaned up. Then you got the flange, like I said, and then a reducer that reduces from 1 1/4 inch down to 3/4 inch. Once again threaded to the black iron pipe that goes up 4 feet. As you can see right there, it's at 3 1/4 by 48 inches. Kept the cap on top just so it keeps things from inside it. Worked out well. The one thing I will do, I will take this piece off, the black iron piece, but everything else will stay connected. Luckily for me, I have room to put to store the pole, the mast, how it is without taking it apart. But hopefully, one thing like I said, is I'll paint the topper and maybe even paint the pole itself black, just so I can hide it a little bit more and less intrusive at night with the lights on. One thing I wanted to point out with my topper, you can see the 2 sets of zip ties that I have on my topper. Both are connected to small holes on the back side of the topper, and what I use this for, or the zip ties, is to hold my star in place. There's a few videos out there. I know Steve Nee has one, as well as I think Ron Howard, where they tie their respective props that are up high, tie the corners to a stationary portion of the structure itself, just so it won't sway in the wind. It will give a little bit, but it won't turn or spin. So my recommendation is make sure before you hoist up the pole itself, put the star on, and then tie the corners down. So then if you do get wind that comes around, it may turn it, a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, but it's not going to spin it around completely, and then you have to get your ladder back out. Now, once I started to build the tree itself, I discovered that my measurements were off. When I did this, I thought I had it correct. Well, ends up I wasn't, which is fine. So I had to engineer it on the spot. So for my ring, I knew I wanted to use Schedule 40 PVC, but then I had to elevate it. So I went and got 3/4 inch PVC Schedule 40, made my legs with it, and then slid 1/2 inch pipe through the T's, go all the way around. For the season, it worked out really well. I did have some flexing, as you can see in the pipe, in the ring itself. I used the 1/2 inch rebar to help hold it down, put it in an X crossover pattern around it, and it did a great job. It held it in place. It kept it from moving, from popping up. Then after the season, I broke my toe, couldn't get out here in time to get everything torn down, and we had a real bad windstorm come through, about 67 mile an hour wind, and Mother Nature decided she was going to win that battle. And of course, the weak point was the connection between a 10-foot and an 8-foot piece of the ring, and just pulled it off. No damage, which is fine, but as you can tell, the wind wreaked havoc on it, and so then I had to pull the tree in, pull the skirt, and tie it up, and so be it. But overall, the ring itself worked out well. Next year, I will go from the plastic PVC to a steel ring that most likely will come from Mattos Designs. That's height adjustable, steel, anchor it down a lot easier. It won't pull up, it won't wrinkle like this one did, and will be nice. Now the strips itself, come from Boscoyo, and I have them tied on the bottom, simple 6-inch or 8-inch bungee ball straps. I like these, they're easy to use throughout the year, but one thing I discovered is they do stretch. So they stretch quite often. So one thing I'll do probably next year is move to a more permanent connection at the bottom that's you can adjust the screws as needed, so it stays, once you lock it in, it stays permanent. Now at the top, one thing that's different with the Overkill toppers is the slotted places to put that hold the strips on top. Now what mine use is a T connector, and it's a really good, nice design. It locks in place, it does not move, it won't pop off. The one thing I have a little bit of issue with is it's sliding back and forth. Once you get everything up there, it doesn't really move much, but it does have a little bit of sliding. This topper held 24 strips. However, when I got to the ends, it was really crowded, and so I had to kind of overlap the ends, and it was fine because you couldn't tell, but that's the one issue I have with the topper. As you can see, the strips are not quite taut right now, simply because I just put the tree back together for this filming. The one thing that a lot of folks do, we will put an extra strip of mega tree stripping going horizontally across in between to help hold it in place, to help keep it aligned pixel to pixel, left to right, but also to keep it pushing or facing outwards. You can see here, these are not quite the same. This strand on the left is pointing out, the other strand is kind of pointing at a 45. So the brains for my mega tree is in this Vital Impact. You can see here underneath, Vital Impact ammo box is one of two Kulp K8s. This bad boy here is a cape that sits on top of a beagle bone, and the beagle bone has the micro SD card in it with FPP, which runs the computer inside, which runs the beagle bone, and then it also tells the cape, which is the K8, where to send the data. So the K8's a great little piece of equipment. It has 8 local ports attached, 3 RJ45 connections for smart receivers, as well as it has the expansion possibility for either your smart receiver or 16 more local ports, whichever fits best for your display. For me, it makes more sense to have the ability to send out to smart receivers. However, what I did here to run my 12 strands on my mega tree, each strand is 150 12 volt pixels. I went 8 local, and then port 9 through 12, I added the smart receiver inside the box. So now I have 12 local ports versus just 8. This is being run off of a HP 750 power supply unit, and the Breakout board is a JBoards fused. It has two outputs, one on top, one on the bottom. What's great about this is it has everything's fused, but also has the on-off switch. So JBoard makes some great Breakout boards if you choose to go with HP. This is a great piece of equipment. This is actually the remote in my system. The player, or the master, is what sits behind my trees and candy canes, which you'll see in another video. What happens is the data is sent wirelessly through the antenna that's popping out, and then it sends it, once it receives it in packets, it then sends it out to the ports as needed, so forth, so on. Next year, one thing I will do is probably have it hardwired, or at least have the ability to have it hardwired. I do have it right here coming in. Like I said, this year everything was ran wirelessly, which for the most part worked well. Had some hiccups, so I want to have the ability next year to have backup with hardwire outside of my house. One thing I did not go over, I forgot to mention, every port that's coming off has a 5-foot extension, which I've already taken off. It goes to every strand, but then the star, since it's so far up, You know, up to pixel 1 is about 14 feet. And then I have it running from here over probably another 15 feet to behind those bushes to a smart receiver. So what I did is in between is I put in an F amp just to help send data along, and I had no issues the entire year, which was nice. And so just remember, once you order supplies for your year, whether it's your first year especially, order some F amps or null pixels, but also order extensions. Make sure you order more extensions than you think you'll need. That's my big thing that I learned this year, is you always need more extensions than you think you will actually need. So, but once again, this is the Kulp K8, one of two for my show, and this one's running the Megatree. Hope everything you see here makes sense to you. I'll have links in the description so you can find places to purchase these items. Now for storage, I use the yellow topped bins you'll find at Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards. Simple, effective. I'll take the strip, and it's double stranded, remember, and I'll set it inside and roll it inside the bin first. Then I'll take the bungee cords, the bungee balls at the end, take them off and wrap them around as you see here to help hold it in place. So that's twofold. It helps keep it tied together, and then also I still have the bungee balls for future use so I don't lose them. Now overview for what I learned this year and what I would change differently. Guy wires work great. They're tied into, I believe, 16-inch ground anchors, ground screws. They were great. No issues in the sand. They went deep enough, which was nice. The ratcheting part of the guy wire was awesome. Could adjust it as needed, and it really worked out nicely for what I needed to do. Now, one thing I'll do differently, like I mentioned before, is pull the guy wires in, especially the front one. It doesn't need to be a true 45, as I discovered, but it was nice knowing that it was secure and not going anywhere. Overall, very happy with my Megatree. Hope this video is helpful to you. Please like, subscribe, and be on the lookout for more behind the scenes. Thank you.